Hey everybody, I want to read a book to you called Clark the Shark, and it's about appropriate behavior. Now sometimes when you have inappropriate behavior at school and an adult has to speak to you, it might be because you're feeling angry or you're feeling tired or sick or you just don't want to do whatever's being asked of you. But other times when you're not acting appropriately, it could be because you're so excited about what's going on that you just can't control your excitement. That's the problem Clark the Shark has. He loves school so much and he gets way too excited. So let's find out how Clark the Shark goes from being inappropriate to being an appropriate Ava, just like you. Clark the Shark. In all the wide blue seas, in all the wide blue world, the top school for fish was Theodore Roosterfish Elementary. And of all the fish at Theodore Roosterfish, the biggest and the strongest was Clark the Shark. So he's getting off the school bus. In this story, all the characters are ocean animals. So his school bus is actually a submarine. And the school is actually a sunken ship. And here's his teacher. She's an octopus. Clark loved school. And he loved his teacher, Mrs. Inky Dink. He loved to play upsy-downsy and spin-a-majig with his friends. Clark loved his life. So he's very happy. He's not being grumpy. He just loves everything. And in this book, as we show the pictures, look at the looks on the other students' faces. They're all types of fish and sea creatures, but they always look a little bit scared or a little bit bothered because Clark is just being a little bit too much sometimes. "School is awesome!" shouted Clark the Shark. "Less shouting and more reading," said Mrs. Inky Dink. "Lunchtime is sweet!" yelled Clark the Shark. "Munch your own lunch," said his best friend Joey Mackerel. "Recess rocks!" bellowed Clark the Shark. "You're playing rough, Clark," cried the other kids. So he's not trying to be mean, he's just overly excited. So he's yelling out in a loud voice, and he's eating other people's lunches just because he's so excited about eating, not because he's trying to be mean. And then at recess, he's bigger and stronger than the other fish, the other students in the class. So he's being a little bit too rough. He needs to be more careful with his smaller friends. Yes, Clark loved his life with all of his sharky heart, but he loved everything way too much. He was too loud, too wild. He was just too much shark for the other fish to handle. After a while, no one would play with Clark. No one ate lunch with him. No one sat with him at circle time. Even his best friend Joey Mackerel said, "Cool your jets, Clark. You're making me crazy." So he's just being a little bit too much. So no one really wanted to play with him anymore because he was just too much. One day, Clark asked Miss Inky Dink, his teacher, and that's what you can do when you have a problem, is ask a teacher or another adult in your life, "What can I do to fix this problem?" And they can help you. "What's wrong with everyone?" Mrs. Inky Dink patted his fin. "Clark, sometimes you play too hard. You munch too hard. And gosh, you even help too hard." "But life is so exciting," said Clark. "There's a time and a place for everything," said Mrs. Inky Dink. "And sometimes the rule is stay cool." So she's telling him there's a time and a place, and sometimes you just have to try to contain your excitement and stay cool. So let's see if that advice works for Clark. At recess, Clark tried to stay cool, but he pushed the swing with too much zing. "Sorry," said Clark. "I forgot." "Yikes!" yelled Joey Mackerel. So he forgot and he pushed the swing a little too hard. But he did say he was sorry. So he's learning. He just needs to practice more so he can remember to stay cool and calm. At lunch, Clark tried to stay cool, but everything smelled so good that he munched a bunch of lunches. "Sorry," said Clark. "I forgot." "We're starving," said his friends. Uh-oh. So he tried to stay cool at lunch, but everything just smelled so good and tasted so good, he ate everybody's lunch. And they are all hungry and not happy with Clark. In class, Clark tried to stay cool, but a good book got him all shook up. He started laughing. "Now, Clark," said Mrs. Inky Dink, "this isn't the time or the place. Tell me, what's the rule?" "Stay cool," said Clark. "Hey, that rhymes," he cried. Then Clark got a big idea in his sharky head. "Maybe if I make a rhyme, I'll remember every time," he thought. The next day, he put his plan to work. So there he is, laughing too much, too loud at his book. So again, he's not being mean, he's just being too loud, too excited. And it's kind of disruptive to the rest of the class. So he's going to try this new plan of making a rhyme to remember to stay cool. In class, when lessons got exciting, Clark wanted to bounce up out of his seat. Instead, he told himself, "When teacher's talking, don't go walking." And do you know what? It worked. "Attaboy, Clark," said Mrs. Inky Dink. Clark smiled. "Lessons are fun." So even though it was difficult, he made a little rhyme to keep himself in his seat, even though he was so excited about the lesson. At lunch, everything smelled so yummy. When Clark wanted to eat and never stop, he told himself, "Only munch your own lunch." And it worked again. "Way to go, Clark," said his friends. Clark grinned. "Lunch is fun." So now everybody got to eat their lunches, and Clark only munched his own lunch. And everyone looks much happier now. So his little rhymes are working. At playtime, Clark told himself, "Easy does it. That's the way. Then my friends will let me play." And playtime was fun once more. Clark loved his life. So they're on the teeter-totter or the seesaw. And Clark is being gentle and making sure that he doesn't bounce everybody off. He goes up and down gently. And everyone's having fun and they want to play with him. But then a shadow fell across the playground. A ginormous shadow with tentacles galore. So it's a squid, has tentacles like an octopus. That's the arms with the little suction cups on them. "It's a new kid and he looks scary," cried Joey Mackerel. "Swim for your lives." The squid squashed the slide and snapped off the swings. "Oops, my bad," said the new kid. So here comes this ginormous squid. And everyone's afraid. "Run for your lives." And he crushes the slide and the swings. But he says, "Oops, I'm sorry." He didn't mean to. He's just so big. "Wait," said Clark. "He just wants to play. Let's find a way." And he swam at the new kid with all his might. Clark played harder than he ever played before. Upsy-downsy and spin-em-a-jig. Why, he even made up a new game. Tail-wumpa-lumpus. "Wow, that was fun," said the new kid breathlessly. And he settled down. "If you want to come to school, you've got to stay cool," said Clark. So Clark could play a little rougher with him because he was big like Clark. but he's helping him to learn when you come to school, you have to be appropriate, Ava. You have to be calm and follow the rules so you can listen and learn. That's right, Clark, said Mrs. Inky Dink. And thanks for taking care of our new classmate, Sid the Squid. Hooray for Clark the Shark, everyone cheered. So now Clark is being a good helper. And everyone is happy. And now there's somebody that Clark can play a little rougher with because they're the same size. That night, Clark's mother asked, "What did you learn at school, dear?" "There's a time and a place for everything," Clark said. "Sometimes you stay cool." So there's Clark's mom and maybe his little brother. So he learned at school, sometimes you have to stay cool. But sometimes a shark's gotta do what a shark's gotta do. So when there's time that you can play rough with someone, then it's okay as long as they want to play rough too. So he's playing a little rough with his dad or his little brother. So that's how Clark the Shark learned to behave appropriately. He made up little rhymes to remind himself to stay cool, and it worked for him. So when you have a problem, you can work with an adult or a friend and come up with a way that you can maybe count to 10 or sing the ABCs quietly in your head to calm yourself down. There's lots of different things you can do. Good luck, guys, and thanks for listening.